for the meetings, yet tonight we hear you don't trust them. What does that say about all of you that appointed people to these committees? That falls back on you. The vehicle, selling the vehicle to the fire department. We hear we're keeping it in-house. We are not keeping it in-house. I'd love to just give that vehicle to the fire department. Nothing would make me happier. But the fire district is its own political entity. It is like the city of Niles, basically. It has its own rules, it has its own voting. Keeping it in-house will be transferring something from water to electric, not from Newton Falls to Niles. This falls underneath that category. So saying that we're keeping this in-house is just totally not true. Thank you.
Jim Long, 210 East Liberty Street. Mr. Federoff, you said about the three-man police department. If we have a three-man police department, then we certainly don't need all 8 or 9 cruisers that we have, and we probably don't need the 3 brand new cruisers that we're buying or have already bought. Tessa, you voted to put the police levy before the voters. I agree with you, let the voters vote on it, but you seem absolutely baffled as to what millage was based on, whether it was the appraised value, whether it was the market value, or whether it was 35% of the value. We need you to know what you're voting on before you vote. And Julie, thank you for trying to get the information to make informed decisions on the policy, on the police department levy. I find it sad and repulsive that those who should have provided you the information, the leaders of the city, failed to do their job. Mr. Bryan, you need to check the ordinances, because I believe at one time there was an ordinance that existed that anyone that petitioned to use our utilities had to pay the cost to have those utilities extended to their property. And I was also surprised when Mr. Granchi pulled the $8,760 figure out on the vehicle that you didn't ask that they stop the motion to get rid of that vehicle until you check further into it, because it's now not a $1,000 or $1,500 vehicle. It's way more than that until you check into it. And Bud, I respect you a lot, and I have high hopes for you. I don't agree with some things you did tonight, but I'm certainly hoping that you're going to make sure that the information gets shared that needs to be shared with council, because Julie and Chris are getting left out of everything. They're not getting information that they're getting asked. They're not getting asked for meetings. They're not getting told things. Their emails aren't getting answered. They're not getting the information. And I hope that you're also going to work on putting a stop to these unnecessary emergencies that are not emergencies. And Mayor, I'm going to ask you one more time to make sure that council members are not throwing personal attacks at members of the audience when they're speaking. Thank you.
Rick Curlin, 611 North Canal Street. I thought it was a really nice meeting tonight because everybody talked it out, discussed it, heard from the audience. There was a time almost a year ago when we have a gentleman in the audience now who voted to get rid of some of the comments. I'm glad you're not doing that. But the other thing I'd like to say is what we're replacing is not a grant study. It's not a grant. You call it a grant. It's not a grant. That was the opioid money. It's not a grant. It came from the federal government. So we didn't have a grant when we replaced it. We had 2 years opioid money. That's what we were funding the police department. There was no grant. Not at all. And I don't know how we can make a decision or how someone can say, Mr. Granchi's not getting this, Ms. Knepper's not getting that. How would he know what you two are getting or not getting? So we can't really make any judgments to that. But I thought it was a good meeting. Everybody discussed everything. The the people are going to get a chance to vote, because something you did not do tonight. You didn't put any tax levies on. Not at all. You didn't do that. There's no additional taxes. You just let the people vote. Thank you all very much. It's a great meeting.
Anybody else?
Good evening. Connie Smith Talcott, 136 West Church Street. I'm the president of the Heritage Board, and we're working on the New Falls Community Center project. All of you received a detailed report from us early in June, from the beginning of the organization and through June. I wanted to just let you know where we are at the moment. We met with the architect's prospectus on Monday, and they're going to be moving forward with evaluating the building for the historic structure report, which is going to be finished by the end of December. And that report will be our roadmap for moving forward with funding and planning and construction. So it's important to us. We did, as you're aware, got a grant to pay for half that cost of the report. And so we're off and running. COVID slowed us down after we got the legislature in 2020. But now we've got momentum. People are getting excited about it. And I think the project's going to be quite successful. I know that the community is anxious for the building to be reopened, and that's our goal as well. But there is a process, and I promise you we're taking the right steps and doing it correctly. And we have professionals on our board, and we engage with professionals that know what they're doing as far as preservation is concerned. So thank you very much. I just wanted to give you an update. And one of our new board members, Judy Simover, is going to talk about some events coming up.
My name is Judy Zamamra, and my family moved here in 1928. I currently am relocating to Ohio after a career of 42 years in public service, including several decades as a city manager. And my very first job in local government was working here in the city of Newton Falls as a summer employee. And my job was painting what will hopefully soon be the Veterans Bridge. Me and Debbie Fornini painted that bridge as a summer project. So it's been a great 42 years. Commend Mr. Archer on his 33-year retirement. It was a very nice proclamation he gave him, and it's great that you recognize that type of work. And for all of you who are up here serving, everybody can't do public service, and everybody can't serve as an elected official. Both my mother and my father served Newton Falls as elected officials, both served on the Newton Falls School Board. And so I know what it takes. It takes time away from your family. It takes sometimes losing your friends. And it takes a lot of time to do the homework to be ready to come to the meeting. So thank you for being willing to serve. And thank you, even if you're on the losing end of a vote, it's that you step forward and you're willing to be in the arena. So I appreciate that, and I know what it takes. My job today is to let you know that we do have an exciting event coming up. We have on November 5th, Saturday, November 5th, and you will be getting your Save Your Date card and your invitation card as elected officials, as well as the entire community, for the 80th anniversary of the dedication of the Newton Falls Community Center. Those of you who've lived here for any amount of time, and even new people, Mr. Grange has been very involved with this project to date. The building was originally built as a USO by the federal government in conjunction with the Ravenna Arsenal project, but immediately turned over to the city. So it's city property, and of course we have a lease with the city, our nonprofit, to do the restoration and repairs. And now, after a little bit of a setback due to the pandemic era, we are starting to see some real momentum, as you heard from the president of our board a few minutes ago. But our first event for this year will be on November 5th, a day-long event. And our first speaker, we have confirmed, is our mayor. He's going to speak at the event. So we're very excited about that. We've started to receive some excellent feedback, and sponsors we will be mentioning in the very near future. The theme for the November 5th event is a salute to our veterans because of the tie of the building as originally a USO. And the commitments we've received from the recognize historical preservation and the beauty of our community park and our community center. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Closing remarks, Mr. Federoff, do you have anything?
Yes, I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. First of all, I'd like to say that I appreciate the support that I've been given in the past when I get up and I talk to people about taxes and stuff like that. I apologize to you for not getting across to you, this council did not pass any tax time. We didn't. All we did was put it on the ballot, so you, the taxpayer, the citizens, are the ones that make the choice of whether or not you want that tax to be out there. So as far as council or myself denying your trust or whatever by putting the tax on here, that didn't happen. I don't know if you didn't read the thing or whatever, but it didn't happen. The only time the tax is gonna go on is when you go in and shake that little check mark, and then the Board of Election will put it down through, and if the majority of the people want it, then it would happen. It didn't happen here tonight. I had something else, but I don't want to get into that right now. Really, because it would open a whole other can. Thank you.
Mr. Moria?
Just a couple things. We're not trying to keep anybody uninformed. Every day we're finding out something new. As a matter of fact, we were left with just a scrap of paper. We found out we were another $313,000. Everybody knows that. Here's the trading value right here, $3,000. Oh, look, do any of my councilmen without know what the motto of Newton Falls is? Do you know, Mr. Grant, you could ask it? Don't look back there. Don't look back there. Yeah. I knew you made. Working together for a better tomorrow. That's what we're trying to do. Now look, the other thing with Mr. George, we sat down. Mr. George admitted that there was a couple of things that are overlapping. We're going out for quotes on everything. So we're going to do this job. There's no sense in us not missing the wagon. Letting an opportunity like this go. We'll never get the opportunity again. Now, somebody brought up tonight about the fire board as its own entity. The last time I knew, we paid $70,000 or $72,000 our half every year, $36,000 every 6 months. So it might be its own entity, but we're paying half of it. We have control over that. We have control over. I'm not saying control. I'm saying we have input in that. In other words, this is part of Newton Falls. All I can tell you is that we're going to do the best we can. The people that don't like what we're doing can go down there and vote not to have a police department. That's your prerogative. But we wanted to give the people, the whole community, a chance to save their police department, and this is the only way we're going to save it. So, I'm not down here to start a fight. I've done a lot of economic development myself, and no one, I shouldn't talk on myself, but I'm going to say something. I work for United Telephone, Sprint, Embark, you name them, miles and miles and miles of line I've cleared, watched them set poles, no bids. I work power line jobs and everything. So I know how to shave a dollar too. So when we go to do this project, hopefully, with all the bids we're going to get, like they said, $30,000 to $40,000 for tree work. Maybe I'll resign so I can bid it. That's a lot of money for that little stretch. But these are the figures that Mr. George and Ms. Purdy came up with. I'm probably sorry, Mr. Granchi, maybe I should have called you. From now on, I'll make sure that if, you're sleeping or something, I don't wake you up, and you know what I mean? That's probably my fault, I didn't let you know. We're gonna move forward. I think this community wants a good police department. I go to McDonald's, I go to Arby's, I go to the Broad Street Bakery, and I didn't mean to scare anybody tonight, but it sure is nice to know that if somebody's breaking into my house, not like out on Newton Thomason when they were breaking into the garage, and they called the sheriff, and the guy was gone, and yelling, "Hey, get out of the garage!" Hey, he's breaking in still. The sheriff didn't get there for 45 minutes after the guy's gone. Surely, I hope we can, down the road, look again at a joint fire police department. I think that would behoove all of us. I think that's all I have to say.
Ms. Spencer?
Yes. Mr. Lawansu, I am crystal clear on fair market value and assessed values. You get those numbers from the auditor's office. The fair market value is what the auditor deems would be a reasonable price for your house. The assessed value is the amount that you pay taxes on. Now, if I decided I wanted to sell my house, I could have a realtor come in and give me an appraised value. These are all completely different numbers. The only thing anybody could do is look up their tax record. If you know your parcel, you can use your address or your last name. We shouldn't be giving generic information based on values because everyone's is different. Now, I do know that the numbers that I just gave you, those are correct. When the EMS levy was passed in November by the fire board, I know how much my taxes went up. And I know what the fair market value is of my house. And that matches that $140,000 per $100,000 that I said earlier. Those are correct, because I know exactly how much my taxes went up on that EMS levy. Now, after you look those numbers up and you figure out how much it's going to be for the entire year, make sure you divide that number by 12 and ask yourself, am I willing to pay $12 a month for a police department? Is it worth my family being safe if I pay an extra $12 a month on my property taxes? I think most people would say that sounds very reasonable. That's all.
Mr. Granchi?
Yeah, I just want to say that I think tonight was a good meeting. We had respectful discourse. I took a couple L's tonight, but I was a Lone Ranger a couple times on ones too. It's fine. I'm happy that we can have these kind of discussions, that everyone is comfortable with getting their feelings on the floor and not feeling like they're going to be attacked for it or anything like that. I really appreciated the way that we were able to have discussion tonight, and I just wanted to say that to my colleagues.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Stemper?
I just have, the fire board meeting is August 23rd at 6 o'clock at the township building.
Could you say the date again, please?
August 23rd?
I just wanted to thank everybody on council, and thank the staff members here and the citizens for coming out and just your input. Each individual here is very valuable, and I want to just thank everybody.
Oh, sorry. Remind them that we're taking the recess for the second meeting
Yes.
in August. We're not having the August 17th meeting. I'm sorry,
That's all right.
I was writing that date down and then I remembered that we've already said that.
Yeah. Did we have an executive plan or no?
No, sir.
All right, so somebody want to make a motion?
So
Mr. Granchi,
Second.
Okay, as soon as the clerk's ready to call for the roll.
Mr. Granchi? Yes. Ms. Stemper?
Yes.
Mr. Federoff?
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan?
Yes.
Mrs. Lester?
Yes.